Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Scandal Fan Podcast. I am one of your hostesses. I am Jaha Knight, and I am joined today with Eldia Harris. And we're actually going to be joined by all of the gladiators here shortly. Everyone had some schedule conflicts or whatnot, so they'll be here in a little TT. Say hello to the people, Eldia.
Hello, people.
So we had a great episode last night. What did you think about last night's episode, Eldia?
I honestly, I've only gotten a chance to watch it once, but I really enjoyed it overall. To me, it felt like a little bit of a sloppy episode, if that makes sense. I
Really?
know. Yes, I did. I felt like it didn't flow to me, but that's just my opinion. I know Katrina will probably strongly disagree with me about that.
I strongly
But
disagree with you about
do
that.
you?
Yeah, I
I
do.
just I didn't feel like it flowed. I felt like certain scenes, like when you had um when Abby went up to Lizzie and Lizzie was like, "So what? Am I your bitch now? Does this?" And Abby was like, "No, I just want us to work together." And I was like, "Wait, Abby, this woman has treated you like a piece of gum stuck on the bottom of her shoe, and all you've
Now,
talked
see, now you're going into
about."
details. We are not getting into no
Okay,
details.
okay,
You
I
need to check your email like I asked you to 20 hours ago. But
okay.
now we're going
Overall,
into details.
okay. Overall, I liked the episode, but I felt like it was sloppy. But that's just me.
I liked the episode. I think it had great parallels and a great fluidity that I haven't seen in a while. So I liked the episode. So I totally disagree with you on that. One of the quick questions I have for, um, oh, before we get into all of that, so thank you all for joining us. I'm glad that y'all are live with us. In order to chat back, we have questions rolling on Twitter. So to chat back, make sure you are paying attention to the hashtag ScandalFan podcast if you are on Twitter, and you can respond by answering the questions that we're asking live back on Twitter. Also, you can talk with us live right here on Google Hangouts on Air by clicking the button in the front. It should say QA somewhere on the screen, and we can get those questions right in here or those responses right in here so that we're able to chat back with you. If you are chatting back on the Hangouts page, but not on the Q&A app, then I don't see that until we're off air. So those are the only two ways that we really are paying attention to what you're saying back to us. So please make sure you work with us on that. All right. So Eldia is on Periscope on Tuesdays and Thursdays live, talking about Scandal Fashion on Tuesdays. And then on Thursdays, she is talking about the lives of the actors behind Scandal. So she's bringing all of the stuff that she brings to this episode or each episode to you in real time on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I had to get that out the way before we got too far adrift in the episode. So every time I see the title, yes, I keep thinking about that song. All you gotta do is say yes. It just makes me and I knew, oh, I'm not going to get into that because there's details. So the question that I have for the first to start off with is, hit retweet or share this episode if you all believe that Elizabeth is trying to bring her own people into this administration. So what do you think, Eldia? Do you think that Elizabeth North is trying to bring her people? Is her last
Okay.
name North? She's trying to
Yeah.
bring
Yeah. I
people into
believe it is. Yeah. Okay. Here was my theory on this. And I can't remember if I mentioned it on the last episode or not about how I thought Cyrus was going to go work for Melly and her administration, and they were going to take on Fitz and Elizabeth in that administration. It would be like a battle of, a battle of the exes, so to speak,
Oh,
with
nice.
Fitz and Melly and Fitz. I don't think I mentioned that. I do think that Elizabeth has an agenda. What it is, I don't know. I don't have a theory about it yet because I keep like looking at little things that she does, and I'm like, huh. Okay, why isn't she more upset about that? Huh? Why is she so nonchalant about that? So I
Because
do.
she's not invested. That's why. But the other thing is too,
Sure.
when you think about it, she said to Fitz, I knew she leaked those photos because she said to him, and I think I said this on the episode. She said to him, "I'm not for you cheating
Yeah.
with Olivia. I'm not okay with this." And then
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, that chick leaked those." I said it. I swear, I
But,
think I said it on the last episode, but
but it doesn't make sense because she pimped out her boyfriend to sleep with Melly, correct? Right? Like the
But
guy
that's
that's
when
in
she
the
wanted to make change within the administration. Like this could literally, like, look, think about it with Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, they wanted to impeach him. So this is an impeachable offense. And Olivia, okay, so this is an impeachable offense as far as I see it. So she wanted that to happen. So I just didn't think that Olivia would do what she did at the end there. I was just like, oh my gosh. All right. So
I know.
what do you all think? Do you think that that Elizabeth is trying to sabotage the administration, or do you believe that she really is, you know, there for the good of this episode? I mean, the administration, the Fitz administration. The second question I have is, do you think Melly's appeal to Fitz was just about her political ambitions? We all know we talk about this all the time. So do you think that that was the case for this episode?
I think the way I like to I think I said this in past episodes, but the way I like to describe it, Melly and Fitz's relationship to me is like this. You can love someone but never be in love with them. And I feel like that's always been the basis of their marriage. Like how they were brought together. At some point, I feel like Fitz loved her, but he was never in love with her. And it was the opposite for Melly. At some point, she fell in love with Fitz. And so she's always trying to figure out why that happened for her, but it didn't happen for him, if that makes sense. Because she's always like, why don't you love me? Why can't you love me? And he's never really given her a reason as to why. He's always like, oh, you did this, or oh, you did that. But it's like, even before Olivia, it was established that even before he met Olivia, their marriage was not, you know, it wasn't a marriage where they were in love. And I know people, you have all the Melly fans, you're like, what about the flashback, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, yes, we had the flashback episode. We saw that they were happy, but it doesn't mean that he was in love with her. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he's ever been in love with Melly. So I think for her, it's always been about more. And she's just been waiting for him to return that. And based off of the preview for next episode, it looks like she's reached that point where she's like, okay, this is how it's going to be, then game on, because it looks like she's coming out with guns a-blazing. And it looks like Melly's like, you think I was doing some shit before? Wait, can you see what I got now? That's what it looks like. So I'm excited for that, because I think that's how she should be. Quit waiting around for this man. Like, he's never going to choose you. Like, even when he chose you, it was only because Olivia made him choose you. He never outright chose you, Melly, ever. Get over it.
LD, I put something in the chat for you, but I think that honestly, with the whole Melly's appeal to Fitz, it's almost like, and I can say Fitz and Melly in the relationships that they have with not only each other, but it just in relationships in general, they're like the little girl inside themselves, or the little girl and the little boy inside themselves, and they're always wanting somebody to just love that person that's inside of them, instead of being an adult in their relationship. They're kind of, because even with Fitz, he did the same thing. I'm waiting on Olivia. And Melly was like, I'm waiting on you to say, yeah, let's get this together. Like, she wanted him to say yes to her. Fitz wanted Olivia to say yes to him. They were both in that holding pattern in this episode. So I saw the parallels there with regards to that. But at the end of the day, I would think that, and this is outside of this episode, but I would think that a woman that has been married for that long of a period, or that length of time to a man, has his children, has been loyal to him in some respects, in a lot of respects, actually. And in some respects, she hasn't been, but that's only in response to some of the things that Fitz has done. And I know when Katrina gets on here, she's going to read me, but at the end of the day, that's how I feel. I feel like he should have some type of loyalty to Melly, because she is his wife, and she should expect that from him because she married him. Sorry. So that's just how I feel about it. So the quote was, and the apology, Fitz asked Melly, and she said, for the divorce papers, that was mean. You can admit that was mean, right? That was just an example of her saying, why are you treating me like this? Even though she murdered a lot of people, everybody on this show has murdered somebody except for David, I think. I looked back and I started thinking about it, because Katrina said this, I think, last episode. Everybody has murdered someone except for David. So if you are joining
he was just accused.
Yeah. If you're joining us live, you can chat back with us at Scandal Podcast. And you can also chat back with us on the screen here at the Q&A if you're watching us live on Google+. Hello, Katrina Pavetta.
Hello, lady.
Hi, how are you?
Well, I'm good. How are you doing?
I am okay. Great.
Somebody just tweeted me a cat face that said no. I don't know what you're talking about, Cassandra. But
What is
it's just a cat face that says no on it. It is hilarious. Yeah, stop
well,
sending me
I'm
those.
missing the conversation like before that, so I
Oh,
don't have any
you
context.
missed that? Oh, good. We don't have to. We don't have to be told off.
Yeah, we don't have. Mm-mm.
Yeah. She ain't gonna tell us off, LD. We did it behind her back. Yes, yes.
Woohoo!
Uh-oh. All right.
All right. So it looks like Jake found a job. Okay. What do you all feel about him appearing to work for OPA as a gladiator? That's question number 3. So if you're chatting back, please make sure you put that question number 3 in there so I
I
can
just need
respond to
them
it.
to. I just think they need to clone Quinn and just leave it alone. Like just
Thank
clone
you.
Quinn and it'll be fine. They don't need Jay. They don't even really need Huck at this point. Just clone Quinn and you'll be fine, Olivia.
I don't
What?
think we need a clone of Quinn. Thank you.
Come on,
She got
she's
plenty
doing
of crazy
it all.
on her own. We do not
She's
need
doing
2 or
it
3
all.
more Quinns.
For me, it's like, what is it that Jake offers to OPA? Huck right now is in a fragile place, and he really needs some help. Jake doesn't even know how to turn a printer on. He can't hack. He is a shitty spy, way shittier than Huck is. Besides this hero complex, what does he bring to OPA?
He's
I'm really
muscle.
struggling to
He
see
is
that.
muscle.
Like I said, besides the hero complex, what else is he?
But they need somebody that has a little bit of something going on outside of being deranged and wanting to hack people up for fun. Huck is at that point, and so is Quinn. Now she has 3 murderers that pretty much work for her as muscle, but Quinn is smart enough to be able to hack and to hold her crazy inside just a little TT. But Huck cannot. And Jake offers something. At least he offers a diversity from the crazy a little bit, just a little bit.
For me, I feel like ever since Jake came into this narrative, he's been trying to displace Huck in some way, and he can't fulfill all the roles that Huck does. And I really don't want to see that happen with OPA. So if Huck has to like take a backseat to get fixed or whatever he's going to do, for me, like whatever. I'm not interested in him being an OPA, but people can argue with me about that, about, oh, Jake is going to be great in the role as OPA. Nobody invited you yet. You inserted yourself into the situation. And yeah, I get it. You say, oh, Liv's in trouble. I'm going to go down and save the day, which is his thing. But I am not looking forward to seeing him there all the time, him and his watery eyes. No thanks.
Oh my gosh. Morgan says, when I asked the question about Melly's appeal to Fitz, was it just about her political ambitions? She said yes, and her need to have control over him. Despite her talk, Melly isn't afraid. Despite her talk, Melly is afraid of living a life without Fitz holding her up. Kamara says, I'm an Olit person, but Fitz should have gone to Melly swearing in because she has done a lot for him other things than nature. But he did go to her swearing in ceremony. Um, and then she
No, I
says,
think she means like he should have gone without like Liv telling him that he needs to go.
oh, girl, that was last episode. Kamara, stay with us. Get with it. We are on episode 2. She's like, I'm going to catch up with everything I wanted to say from last week.
Okay,
It's
I
nice
got
to
it. I
see
was
you,
just
Kamara.
trying to figure out how to put the link on Tumblr.
Oh, then she says that Melly is trying to make her career have the correct aesthetics. A husband, 2 kids that she didn't want, that she didn't want. And then she says, I don't like Jake with Liv, and luckily that ship has sailed. Jake can take care of Puck. They need someone to watch Papa Pope and hunt down Mama Pope. OPA needs to have a job fair and hire some more people. Until then, they need Jake. And she said, I think it's very possible that Liv will bring her people in there. They're safe, and Lizzie isn't. Lizzie is still working with Papa Pope
Olivia bring
or
her people into the White
to the
House?
White House. Yeah.
Are you kidding
Mm-mm.
me? Do you guys know how huge of a conflict OPA and the White House are going to be? I remember back in season 2, people were like, towards the end, when Olivia and Fitz were like coming together, some people were like, well, Olivia could just move into the White House and she could run OPA out of there. And we just saw in 501 how that is a huge conflict of interest. And I'm so glad that Shonda played some of that out up front, because like, in what world would Olivia be able to run OPA out of the White House? Like, no. Like, no.
Just know, in case
Cassandra says that she talked about Melly's political career. The cat that she has memed says, I've had just about enough of your bullshit. And then says, yes, it was just about political career, not fooling nobody. She also said, Jake is cool as long as he's not trying to get with Liv anymore. I'm all for it. I am too, to be honest.
yeah,
I'm fine
that's
with
true.
it.
Yeah, maybe
Lots
he'll
of
serve now.
Maybe. Lots of fans are calling this episode Classic Scandal. Do you think that we got back to like kind of season 1, season 2 of Scandal with this episode?
Go ahead, Katrina. They heard from you.
Okay. I just want to say that I think this season is off to a really great start, and it is back to a lot of the classic kind of stuff that we know. I would, season 1, season 2A. I would say before the B613 Jake stuff came in, and it's one of the reasons why I can't stand Jake is because he came in with this shift of the narrative, right? And then we started going down this road. Like Papa Pope's introduction was actually Jake Ballard in episode 214. Before we ever really met Rowan, he showed up. And throughout season 3 and everything, the destruction that happened in season 3, and then especially in season 4, Olivia 3 and 4, Olivia fighting and losing with B613, that fight makes her made her a less compelling character. And I'm really glad that that's over with, and so we can focus on this person and all of these different battles that she is trying to fight in her life and that are winnable, right? Because against them, she's not constantly being told you will lose as she was with her father. So for me, it is back to Olivia as this center fighting these battles that feel winnable to me. And I didn't feel that way overall in season 3 and parts of season 4, although season 4 is very much about Olivia kind of being on this journey of fighting the fight that is necessary, not just the ones that are the winnable ones or the white hat ones, and kind of replacing this running pattern with a fighting pattern for her personal life, not just for her professional life.
What do you think, Eldia? Do you think this got back to Classic Scandal season 1, season 2A?
Yes, I agree with Katrina on many fronts. I said it earlier. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a little bit sloppy, but I do think it was classic Scandal. It had moments. It had shocking moments. It had funny moments. It played a lot of emotional beats.
Eldia, I'm confused as what you thought was so disjointed about this episode.
Yeah, please tell us what was sloppy.
I did not see this, and that's why I'm like, what are you saying? So explain that part.
It didn't flow to me when I was watching it, and maybe it's because I've only watched it once, so I've said that I maybe need to go back and watch it again, and it was right after I got off work, so I kind of was, but it didn't, there were moments that just didn't make sense to me. It just didn't flow. I don't think all the scenes fit together. Does that make sense? Like a scene with Abby and Lizzie, that didn't fit to me. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't understand the point of it. And Lizzie was like, so what? And Abby was like, no, I just want us to be equals. And I'm like, okay.
It had to establish a power paradigm, a shift.
Okay.
So that Abby doesn't feel like she's under Lizzie's thumb anymore. And it's more of an equal power play. Now Lizzie and Abby, like Abby's no longer going to be, like Lizzie basically told Abby, you're fired, bitch. Get the hell up out of here. And so Abby was like, I am not here for
She
this
told
shit.
her.
Let me tell you something. You are going to look at me as equal because I'm not your bitch, and I don't even want to make you my bitch. I just want us to be equal. Let's do that and run the administration.
Yeah.
That's pretty much where I think that came from because otherwise Abby will always be chasing her tail. You see this whole episode, this poor child chased her
That's true.
tail. I was like, Abby,
Hmm.
they got you running 25 different directions. Her hair was like, whew, I'm surprised it didn't look like Mama Pope's after she was in that hole. All right. After the case took with Gavin and his father, his stepmother, what do you think about that case? What do you think about her taking it at that time and about the case in general, LT?
Well, it makes sense that that's what she would do because it's classic Olivia. Throw yourself into your work, focus on what you can control, focus on the narrative that you can write. I didn't think the case was very compelling. It wasn't shocking. I mean, at first we all thought it was going to be the stepmom, then it turned out to actually be the kid. So I was like, okay, makes sense from an Olivia's perspective, but I didn't find the case that like interesting, honestly.
I think it was supposed to serve more of Olivia's narrative and not necessarily be shocking. Like the obvious parallel was that they were both on the run. But the other thing that I don't know if people picked up on was the
Ooh.
stuff Gavin was saying about his father
Oh,
and how
yes.
that coincided with Olivia talking about the shame that she felt like all these years. And the thing is, shame is not an internally derived feeling. It's something that comes from outside, and as Olivia used the term, pressing down on me,
Gross.
weighing down on me, but all of its effects start to destroy us from the inside out, which is what was happening with her. Now, one of the moments that she was reliving in her head, and she's used this two different ways, right? She's used it to help strengthen her when she was going through adversity, when she um, was fighting to get through the red door when she was in captivity. One of the things she heard in her head was twice as good. But she was repeating it. Remember in the airplane hangar in 301, Roman says to her, I told you you have to be what? Twice as good.
Hmm.
But he also told her that she was mediocre
Hmm.
because he told you you'd be first lady and you believed him. And sorry, just one little caveat. Let me say to people that Olivia never said she wanted to be first lady. She said Fitz wanted her to be first lady. She never said that that's what she wanted. So people out there, don't make that mistake. And I really don't think that that's what she wants. Anyway, Olivia, that shame and what Gavin was saying about how his father called him weak, a weasel all these years, and not just
Hmm.
that, he would tell his friends that he was a weasel, and he would laugh at him. And also about the way his father spoke to him, how he yelled at him, and that was just the way he addressed him. So much of that, to me, goes back to Rowan. The
Yeah.
shame that Olivia started to feel was really, a lot of it you saw in season 3, and that came from her father. He made her feel terrible and ashamed at every point. And even the last time they had an interaction, like a real face to face, in I think it was 219, where he tells her it's your friends that don't know you. And he berates her in all these ways, like constantly. That's what he's been telling her and trying to cage her life to be led only in the way that he approved of. And so Fitz and that kind of love and falling in love with this man is very much outside the boundaries of the life that her father thought she should be living, the life that he paid for her to be living. And she's been battling with that, with essentially being an adult and owning her life. As she said in the finale, I am not his child. And she's not.
Well, that's interesting because I literally just said that to LD a little while ago about the fact that all these people on the show, they seem to have that little girl, little boy person inside of them, and they want somebody to tell them yes, to say, yeah, you're good enough, you're what I want, you're who I choose. And then also you said earlier you will lose. You were saying that Olivia,
Rowan told her
yeah, and you heard him talking in her head throughout this
repeatedly. He told her
episode,
that.
saying that in her head, you will lose, or basically that concept of the dialogue. So I did agree. That was my next question. Did you think about the parallels between Liv and Papa Pope and Gavin and his relationship with his dad and all of those things you just covered? What about you, LD? What do you think about that whole scenario?
I do think there are many parallels, but back to what Katrina was saying, was last night's episode the first time we ever heard Olivia admit that she was ashamed for what happened between her and Fitz?
She said that it's the first time she ever said that she spent so much time being ashamed. It's the first time she said that she's been ashamed
Out
of,
loud, yeah.
yeah, that she's first time she said it out loud, that she's
Okay.
been ashamed. She's been running from that feeling. And I love that she said that she's been running from it. And she said, I finally let myself breathe, right? She kind of cast off those shackles, and we saw that at the end of last season. And she said, now these photos are out, which goes back to what I said about how this is an external thing that presses down upon us, because the photos are what bring back that feeling. And it's like, why should you be ashamed? You know, it's like what Jake says, falling in love with the president is not a crime. She's been made to feel, she's been hunted like a criminal like Gavin is, but she didn't actually commit a crime the way Gavin literally did, right? So why should you be ashamed? Fitz's marriage and any infidelity that he commits, that's not part of the oath of office that he swore to. None of your goddamn business, America, as he said to the nation in 221, any questions? My marriage is none of your business. And like, it really isn't. And I hope that this season kind of plays that out. They turn the tables and it's like, why should I be made to feel ashamed? What is all this projection? That's why I love that scene with Quinn and Huck near the end, because
No.
Okay, let's not go there. We'll go there. All right, let me stop.
But this is why I love this show, because you really see real life with these people, with the characters that are on screen. The fact that there's so much emotional retardation, that's what a lot of people are walking around with. They are
A lot of
emotionally
people.
broken. They don't understand their own feelings, and when they do understand them, they repress them and they try to go with they don't dig deep. And I was telling somebody the other day, you can have sex with somebody and still not be intimate with them. Like, that's just a real thing. And so many people are doing that now. That's a large part of why I understand that the relationship between Melly and Fitz doesn't.
I was just going to say,
that
was their life.
Yeah, the relationship with them doesn't work. But like I was telling LD earlier, Melly does still have the right to want that connection, the right to, because she married this man, she's had children with him, but you can have sex with somebody, have kids with them, and still not be emotionally like invested, because that there's something that's keeping you from that. But I do think that Melly has a right to want that from him. Now,
do you think she actually wants that from him? Because
she does. I think every woman, you can say no, but I think every woman, when she is sexually connected to a person, male, female, whatever, when they're sexually connected to someone, they have expectations. Even if they have their own selfishness, they still have expectations of the relationship itself. I agree.
Jaha, I agree with you in principle and theory. I do not agree with you. I'm being real. I don't agree with you regarding Melly. And I will sit here and cite chapter and verse to say why, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, I'm just going to say I don't think that is true for Melly Grant. I don't agree, and we know that it's not true for Melly Grant from episode 107 henceforth. But that's all I'm going to say.
That's just a microcosm of this lady's life. We're looking at pieces that we want to see, pieces that we're being shown in. I don't know. I got conflict because, after they introduced that whole rape thing and all that stuff and the shenanigans of going for it, girl, look, I'm conflicted. So before that, I was all like, Melly, go get your life. Now I'm like, oh, poor lady. So, okay, I'm going to read the comments from everyone that has been chiming in. I love it. Moretta Jackman says, if Jake was killed off, then I would agree that this is back to classic Scandal. Y'all are a mess. Jake head. Hey, Kamara says, because Kamara always has a lot to say. We love it, Kamara. So she says, what do you guys think about what Susan... No, we're not even going there yet, Kamara. go in order. Y'all be asking questions out of sequence. So she says she loves
Copy
the
and
fact.
paste, Kamara. Copy and paste
Yes,
for
it's
later.
coming. It's coming, Kamara. I love the fact that Liv laid in the bed and figured out what she was running from, which was the shame. I wouldn't have done it if I wouldn't have done it that way, but that's Liv. She had to have the time she needed to work things out for herself. And I totally agree with you. I love the fact that she did that as well. Lucinda says, I still felt like it was a once upon a time moment with Abby letting the evil take over. Well, hey, she had to do what she had to do. Letting the evil take over her on the podium is what she said. And then Kamara says, Katrina, I love your analysis. So she has been running from her father's idea of what and whom she should be, which is not what Liv is. It's not what she wants to be. That's because a lot of times we actually take our parents, their idea of what success, what we should be, all that stuff, and we never reanalyze that stuff until we're older. And then it's like, you know what? I don't actually consider my life to be that successful if I go by their definition of success.
That's
But
right. It
when
doesn't
we
feel
don't do
right for
that,
you.
yeah, when we don't do that, that's why she's conflicted, because she's trying to figure that stuff out for herself, which I love. And I think she only did it after the stuff that happened last season. It had to happen for her to get to this point of evolution for herself. So I totally am here for all of that. Now, if you don't get out of here, you can tell everyone a girl beat you up, or I can give you to him, and you won't be able to tell anyone anything ever. From Quinn. How did Quinn and her reaction to Huck during the pencil incident make you feel?
It made me feel sad. I felt more sad for Quinn than I did for Huck, actually,
Mhm.
believe it or not, because it was like she was so hard on him, and then she was like, okay, I'll let it go, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, and then it was like he slapped her in the face all over again, and she was like, fixed, huh? It made me feel way more sad for Quinn than it did for Huck.
What about you, Katrina? What did it make you feel?
I think that for me, it's complicated. There was a little, if I'm just talking about this scene, I think there was a little bit of sadness for me, but I also realized that Huck has had a really mighty big fall in Quinn's eyes from Grace. And I will say Grace in the Huckleberry Quinn unique sense of it, right? Because this is a relative kind of world where they're both kind of sick people in a way. And Quinn came into that world. At one point in season 2, Quinn was Huck's puppy, remember? Like, at least it started back then. It's season 2B, where Quinn was trying to learn everything from Huck. That was her mentor. She looked up to him. She thought she was going to find her Quinness by gaining all of, because remember, she had to figure out who Quinn was, right? This
That's
made of identity.
Lindsay. Yeah,
Right
yeah.
after Lindsay became dead, Lindsay died, and she had to figure out who Quinn was, and that was kind of her season 3 arc, figuring that out. But after he tortured her, they Quinn came into herself by going off on her own, and she came back. She brought the band back together, tried to give Huck another chance, but he was too far gone. And I think she had to come to grips in season 4 that he is not the person that she thought he was or wanted him to be. And I think that makes her scared, as we later saw. Could I become that Huck is? Because at one point she wanted to be just like Huck. She doesn't want that now because she's seen the very scary end of it, and she doesn't want that.
But
And
what
that's where all
about
that projection came from.
But what about when at the end, when she went to him and he said he missed her, but she apologized and she told him how she's not the classic girl next door either, and she doesn't have, it almost seems a little bit like she wanted to. Okay, I'll get to that later, but yeah. So what about at the end when she went to him and apologized? What did that make you feel, Elzia? You got any thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like I agree with Katrina 100%. It was like she wanted that, and now she doesn't. I think Quinn is seeing a lot of that, like in people. Like, keep in mind when she first started, she was the girl on the outside looking in, and everything was like exciting and new, and she was like, oh my gosh. And like now that she's in it, she's like, oh, this is not as glamorous as I as I thought it was.
Like,
From
whoa,
Hug to
whoa.
Olivia.
This ain't what I want.
I mean, keep in mind, keep in mind, Abby has left, Steven has left. She's seen Harrison die. She's seen Huck, go off the deep end, and she's seen Olivia essentially go off the deep end as well. So I agree. I think
Quinn has seen a lot of
Quinn
shit
is still
happen.
Yeah, and she's like, this is not so great. I don't know if I want this anymore. I think anyway, I have a theory, but I'm not gonna say anymore.
Oh, I
I
want to
wanted
later.
to ask y'all, did you think that, because look at where Quinn is right now, and the fact that she did have to figure out who Quinn was outside of being Lindsay from before, do you think that her and Olivia's storyline have parallels?
I do. And they may not always work out perfectly, but I always remember that it is because of Quinn that we know Olivia, right? She's the character. Harrison, interviews her at the beginning, and it is through Quinn that we find out Olivia's greatness and that Olivia Pope is someone who is formidable and that you want to work for, and it inspires that kind of awe in someone. And it's through Quinn that we first kind of like go into OPA and how we meet people, right?
Yeah.
And figure out what OPA is about. And before we could ask the question, well, who the fuck is Olivia Pope? We had to ask the question, who is Quinn Perkins? And that led us to who Olivia is and the things that she's done and how she met Fitz and the crime that she committed, her kind of original sin and defiance and all of that, and then the father and the background and all of that stuff. And season 3, Quinn had to go on her she went down this rabbit hole into she was Alice in Wonderland in a lot of ways, and Quinn came out on the other side of that. She was gladiating her ass off in season 4 while Olivia was trying to figure out how to move forward. And for me, like, that's what I think Olivia is going to be this season, this kind of watch me take her life and get things kind of back in the order that she wants it to be and move forward. So for me, in a lot of ways, what Quinn was in a more kind of comfortable space with herself in season 4, and that's what I hope that a place that Olivia gets to. They're never ever going to be exactly the same because they're not the same people, but that's always the parallel. I always watch what happens to Quinn and what's coming up for Quinn because it tells us sort of what's ahead for Olivia in very different ways, but there's always a connection there.
Yeah, I love that. So, Eldia, did you see the storylines collide here when between Melly wanting an apology from Fitz and Quinn giving Hook one?
Yes. There were two people who felt like they shouldn't have to apologize for anything that they've done. And in my opinion, that was Huck and that was Fitz. They both felt like they hadn't done anything wrong. And then Quinn and Melly were the two people who like, how do you not see that what you've done is terrible? You should be it was like, you should be apologizing to me. And they're like, what? No, what? And I think for Huck is coming from the point of this is who he always was. And in a sense, Quinn knew that. So why is she acting like she's so surprised by it? I think that's where Huck is coming from. Like, Huck is not understanding why she's got all this hurt and this anger, because he's like, you knew this is who I was. I told you this is who I was. I told you that you don't want to be like me, that you would end up like me if you started to go down this road. So where is this coming from? And with Melly, it's again, Fitz has always been who he is. So Fitz is like, why are you surprised that I am serving
and been
divorce
asking
papers?
you for a divorce for literal years.
Why are you surprised that I am now trying to make it official? So yes, I do think they paralleled a lot.
They've been paralleling since the season finale, and I noticed that. The scene with Quinn and Huck is juxtaposed with the scene with Melly and Fitz where he tells her to get out, right? The Melly and Fitz scene come right after the Huckleberry Quinn scene. And in both cases, the two people, Huck and Melly, are exhibiting same behavior taken to an extreme, and obviously they're connected because of Melly, the jurors got killed, and Huck is the one that killed the jurors, right? And they're both saying they didn't have a choice, they did what they needed to do, and they're blaming other people, right?
They're victimizing themselves.
They're victimizing themselves. I'm the victim in this, and they're not taking responsibility for the havoc that they have reached. So yeah, Mellits and Huckleberry Quinn have been dovetailing since the end of season 4.
When Quinn, now that you brought that up, so when Quinn and Huck had their confrontation in the office, do you think that, because you talked about earlier how Quinn sees herself becoming more of Huck a little bit.
I think she's afraid of it.
Yeah, sees it coming, and she's kind of afraid of it. So do you think that when they had their confrontation in the office, when she asked Huck, how did Jake fix you? And that question, when she asked him that, do you think it's because she also feels broken, especially at that last scene between the two of them?
Yeah, I think those two scenes, Jaha, I think those two scenes work really well. Looking back, you know, as soon as Quinn admitted to her projecting, essentially, in the, you know, that last Huckleberry Quinn scene, you go back and you see, you were saying all that stuff to Huck, like, oh, what is that? Some kind of coping mechanism, that breathing thing you're doing. How did Jake fix you? Because I think she wanted to know that there was some kind of switch that could shut this off or save her from becoming a thing that she doesn't want to be. The word that they use in Scandal all the time, a monster or an animal, you know, which Huck was called last season. The thing that she doesn't want to become. I think she wants to know, is it possible? Not just because I think she really loves Huck in that kind of sibling family way. I think she also wanted some kind of safety lever that she could pull.
I don't know what siblings have sex with each other, but that's some incestuous shit.
Well, that's what Abby called it. What did she call it? She called it.
Hey, you gotta Google some Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
No thanks. I don't like that idea.
What was the
incesting? She said they're incesting all over the office.
But what was it that Quinn called Huck last night? Didn't she say he was like a slaughter or something? There was something she said, and it was so hysterically funny.
She said it to Jake. So what, you're his slaughter sponsor now?
Yes. I think that is hysterical.
The shade.
So let's switch gears a little bit. Abby and her inability to deal with the press. How do you think Fitz is treating his new staff? Which I already got some opinions on that, so y'all go ahead and I'll give y'all mine.
No, you go ahead and go, Jaha. I want to hear Jaha.
Oh, she's like, I'm about to jump on Jaha and beat her in the head with this.
No, not like that. No. I want to hear.
So I personally feel like Fitz is back in his tyrant little boys, just stomping around the office. These are my toys, kind of. But I kind of feel like he's back in that space because you all jumped all over me last episode saying that it was Olivia's responsibility to tell Fitz this, that, and the third, but he did it again. Now he has a sit down.
When did we say it was her responsibility to tell him?
Not tell him, but tell Abby about their situation. But he's done it.
No. Nope, I agree with you that it was Fitz's responsibility to tell Abby or Liz that he was going to Melly's things. I did agree with you on that. I said,
you agree with that on accident.
I said, no. Did I? No. I agree with you on the argument.
No, y'all did not.
I did.
Let's roll that tape back. I watched that show
last
week. Let's roll that beautiful footage.
No, I want to be clear with what I said. Sorry, it's like it's a pet peeve of mine since I was like a little girl because I used to get accused of things that I didn't do. So I like for things I say to be clear. I agree with you on that part that it technically was Fitz's responsibility, but I also felt
not technically it was.
No, it wasn't. No, not technically. You're right. Not technically, it was Fitz's responsibility, but I still also felt like it was causing problems for Abby, and I said, Olivia, as ex White House, communications director, like Olivia, you're not thinking about that part of
But
it. And
that's
the
not her
possible problems
job.
that get
She does not.
It's
Like,
not
look,
her
I
job.
said in the After Dark, and I'll say it again. Olivia is not responsible for what Fitz does with his administration and his people. Yeah, she's sleeping with him. Yes, she's been in the
That's not
White
what I
House.
mean.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that's what you mean. I'm just
No, no, no.
clarifying
But
what
it's not
I.
about Fitz. It's not about Fitz. It's about what she wants, right? So if I'm talking about protecting the thing that she wants, not about Fitz's administration. Like
Okay.
if something happens with them, as it did, right, and she wanted to protect what it is that they have. If no one, if the people that are the mouthpiece and responsible for communicating to the outside world, if they don't know that there is something to protect, how are you going to remain protected? And that's
Again,
what I was
so
talking
that's
about.
where we are now with the administration question. Fitz did it again. Abby knew absolutely nothing about Melly being there. She knew absolutely nothing about the fact that they were sitting down to do this thing, which she did instigate because she went to Fitz
She
and
did
had that
instigate it.
ex parte conversation
That's
with
right.
him on the balcony and telling him about what Olivia would do and who Olivia really is. She did do that. However, the problem is that Fitz does not know how to communicate what needs to happen. Like Cyrus said, Cyrus was like, you know, be the adult because he had to be
No.
that in
That's
that
the problem.
administration.
That's the problem right
There
there.
was no
And that
adulting
is
there.
why no. This is why Fitz has been acting the way that he has been acting. First of all, with this particular episode, you have to
There's no
understand.
passes. I don't care. I don't care what's
No.
coming
Nobody
after
ever gives him any passes. Whenever Fitz is upset or he's stressed out or he snaps at someone, he's never allowed to be that way, even with the most fucking stressful job in the world, because he's mad. No, he's not. Everybody always snaps at him. Like, oh, he's a child, he's a tyrant. This man is on the only thing. Let me finish. The only thing that was on his mind throughout this episode was one, I don't want to fuck up the us with me and Olivia right now. Two, I'm trying to be loyal and I don't want to do anything that's going to mess up whatever she is planning. I don't want to make this more complicated, right? So everybody else in the White House suffered because of that. And I get that, which is really, Abby couldn't do her job. Liz and her trifling ass who leaked the photos was also running around trying to figure out how she's going to start bringing her people in. So I have all the sympathy for those people. But the reason why I brought up the Cyrus thing is because Cyrus and Melly repeatedly treated Fitz like a child. When he got rid of those two
and he's
people,
justifiably acting like it as well. He is.
Well, I don't know that he's acting like a child. He's
Yes,
trying to
he
act
is.
like no. He's trying to act like I'm going to do what I want,
No,
and
Katrina.
I don't think
No,
it's the right
no,
thing to do. No.
no.
I'm saying I don't think it's the right thing to do.
But
I don't think he's being a child, though.
he is acting like a child. You cannot run an administration and know that you have a press secretary that has to go out there and be the front line of your administration to declare from what's going on in the White House to the people. You cannot do that and wait on Olivia Pope. You need to have a conversation. Olivia was acting like a child. All of that shit was childish because Abby still had a job to do. And if you are protecting the administration, which it doesn't look like anybody's out there protecting the administration. Abby looks like a fool. The shit she says is not real. It's not right. It's not relevant. Olivia just contradicted her on television, national television, by saying, yes, she's her, whatever.
But
she just stood at that podium
okay.
and said, hey, look, this is the situation. This was going on.
Jaha,
No,
you're
let me
literally
finish.
arguing
Let me
against yourself from last episode.
No,
finish.
let
Let me finish.
out.
Let me finish. Because y'all say what y'all got to say. Let me say what I have to say. Thank you. So I'm not arguing against myself from last episode. Don't laugh at me.
I'm not laughing at you. Continue with what you're saying.
Yeah,
I'm not arguing with myself about the last episode. What I'm saying is, at the end of the day, what his job was to communicate to the audience or to Abby, because Abby has to be the front person. I never said it was Olivia's job to communicate.
He just didn't give her a statement. Yes, he did.
This
He
woman
told her,
had nothing
this is
to
what
say,
I don't
but
want
he
you
kept
to do.
sending her out there. She had nothing to say. But
Because
see,
he
that's
didn't
why,
have anything to
that's
say.
why, but that's
Because
why
he was taking
Cyrus.
his cues from Olivia.
Oh Lord, y'all just don't never
But
let me
this-
finish a damn sentence. Let me finish talking.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mute my...
Oh, what? What? That's voluntary muting?
Okay.
What is going on? What I'm saying
Let
is
me
that
point
no, Eldia, because you need to mute yourself too. Katrina done.
Katrina said, "Let me mute myself."
Hey, Langston. What I'm
Hello.
saying is that at the end of the day, he was responsible for doing the communicating to Abby so she can go out there and have a solid face. This lady has now lied to the public. That was what she was trying to avoid in the first damn place. But he did not give her the opportunity or empower her with information enough to do her job. And it's not fair to her. And that's the second time he's done that. That's not Olivia's responsibility. That is Fitz's responsibility. And even if he wanted to wait on Olivia, he gave her a little message, a little voicemail. Hey, baby cakes, I love you, sugar thighs, all that stuff, whatever. Even though he gave her that message, even though he said that, she went out there and she just, I guess she was like, bitch, I'm tired. Yes, I'm fucking him. It's good. And I'm just going to let y'all know.
But doesn't this serve the purpose of Olivia Pope? Because Olivia Pope is a fixer. So wouldn't she work as the liaison between, say, the president? Like if Olivia was just like, let's take her with Fitz out, right?
I'm not even going there with y'all with this conversation
the president
anymore.
and press secretary.
Is she still trying to claim that Olivia wasn't obstructing?
No, I'm saying I'm paralleling between. I'm gonna mute myself.
Looks at Olivia as a fixer. She is a fixer, correct? So he was like, I am waiting on Olivia because that is what Olivia does. She fixes things. So that's where Fitz is coming from, is like Liv always comes up with a plan. Even though he's sleeping with her, he still sees her as Olivia Pope who needs to do her job for him.
Okay, let me try to put this really succinctly. Eldia, I don't think Fitz was waiting on Olivia as in a professional kind of fixer role. The thing that Fitz was most concerned about the entire episode, from start to finish, was protecting her. We have to remember that literally this bomb drops right after they have a conversation on the balcony where Olivia says she doesn't want to be under the scrutiny of the spotlight. So that is the thing going in Fitz's head, is protecting her from that. Let me finish. Protecting her from that examination, right? And not doing anything to screw up the tenuous place that they are in, because she was very distressed at the very thought of that, how they would be stretched and pulled, because the preponderance of that would be on her. He is used to this. He is in the public eye all the time. His life is always under examination. This man has like gone up in front of the press before and admitted to an affair that he didn't even have, and he was from the season we met him, he has been accused. This is different for Olivia. So he has that unique thing in his head that everybody else running around doesn't have. They have their jobs in their head, and he's trying to balance that with being president. But his main concern is very personal, and it's being loyal to protecting her. And if that means he has to be silent, he's going to suffer the wrath of everyone in the White House in order to do that, because Fitz has done stupid shit before when he thought he was doing something on Olivia's like best behalf, and it didn't work out for him. So he's like, he doesn't want to make that mistake twice. So that is where he's coming from. Secondly, Jaha, what you have said has really highlighted the problem here between the personal and the professional. Olivia has capitulated almost every time to the professional responsibilities of her office and making sure the status quo was kept. And this time, it's not. It's a paradigm shift. She admits to the affair at the end without any fucks to whose professional life it messes up and whose job it makes harder, because god damn it, she's had so many years of sacrificing herself to make other people's jobs easier, and has suffered guilt trips from people who have told her basically, you're making it hard for me. Well, fuck y'all right now, is basically what she's saying in the end. It's some shit is about me now. And people are going to get hurt in that process, and they're going to be mad.
She did the same thing last episode with regards to Abby. What were you saying, Eldia?
Well, I
And
get
yeah,
how
and that's just what's going to happen right now until people try to figure that out. That's the conflict. That's the conflict with this relationship between these two people.
Go ahead,
that's true,
Elvia.
but I don't get how you could say that he was trying to protect her when even Melly brought it up was it this episode or last episode, where she said, you are the one that leaked her name to begin with 2 seasons ago when we covered this up. So to me, Fitz is not trying to protect Olivia. He has never been about trying to protect Olivia. I don't think.
I'm not even going down that road right now. I'm not even going down that road
So
right now.
let's switch gears. Langston, Abby was asking for equality between herself and Lizzie. Do you think it will conflict with her full alliance with Cyrus?
Of course, it will. I mean, it's like, but ultimately, she definitely has Lizzie in her pocket now, because at any moment she could drop the bomb on Lizzie. But I mean, the question is what is really gonna happen when Cyrus does come back to the White House, because obviously he's gonna be anti-Lizzie, so there's already gonna be conflict there when he comes back and sees Lizzie and Abby are now buddy, but it's not really a real partnership. It's a partnership made under duress. So ultimately, I just think that Cyrus is going to, he's going to stick it to Lizzie as best that he can for what she did to him.
What do y'all think, LD and Katrina?
Well, I just question how would Cyrus come back and Lizzie still be there? What role would Cyrus be in?
Well,
I don't know. I don't think Elizabeth. I don't think she's gonna stay long, because she is the one that leaked those photos. So I don't think she's gonna be there that long.
Right, but the only two people who know that are David and Abby, and David's not talking because ultimately Fitz said, "I don't care."
Right. But
Fitz
it's
was like,
interesting to see. Go ahead, Langston, finish.
Well, ultimately Fitz said, "I don't care," and then he handed it off to Abby to do what she will with it, and Abby made her choice. She chose not to tell Fitz. She chose to use it to her advantage, and so therefore, if and when Cyrus does come back, the question is, will Lizzie would obviously have to step down, because I can't imagine that Cyrus is coming back into the White House as anything less than his former position, and because I don't see what that would be, unless of course unless he's back in the capacity as Melly's campaign manager at that point, getting her ready for the presidency.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier. Me and
I had mentioned that I thought that's how they were going to get Cyrus back in the White House. But the thing I was going to say was, Abby and David know. Like you said, David's not going to say anything. Abby's already made her decision about what to do with it, but it still does pose the question of what happens when they find out about what Lizzie did. Because if Lizzie loses her job, it doesn't guarantee that Cyrus is automatically going to get his back. Keep that in mind. Fitz still doesn't trust Cyrus. He still doesn't want anything to do with Cyrus or Melly. So it'll be interesting to see.
But he apologized to Melly because he now needs Melly. Same thing could go for Cyrus. He may bring Cyrus back because maybe Melly will advocate for Cyrus and said, we need him back.
Y'all do realize that the only reason
Melly ain't advocating for nobody, Langston.
If Melly is in, she's in.
If it's to her advantage, she will.
I was gonna say, because remember last time when it was in season 2 when Fitz first cut both of them out, and then all of a sudden, remember Cyrus went to live and he was like, she's got him back and he's cutting me out. Like, Melly is not for.
But that's the thing. That's the thing. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of their relationship. She respects him and he respects her, but they also have a rivalry. So there is a back and forth. It's a push and pull.
They're almost like brother and sister, just like how Huck and Quinn are.
Right.
Like, when you think about
You're like children who compete with Fitz's
Right, they compete. Look, I mean, but see that goes exactly also to what Cyrus was saying. Be the parent.
Yeah,
Be the
yeah,
parent
we talked
because
about that
because
extensively.
Fitz is a petulant child, and it's like
I said that. I did.
right,
You weren't
and
I'm
when
not arguing over this because I have a whole thing about this, like Cyrus and Melly talking about be the adult when all they are people
They're
who
children. They're children.
this is true,
No,
this is
no,
true,
no.
this is
All
true.
Melly
But
and
when
Cyrus are people who want to keep the status quo with their optics and whatever. And Fitz wants more than that. And because of that, and because of Liv, they're made to be children. Cyrus has been spewing this shit since God knows how long. So
right.
I'm not even going to argue about it.
But the thing is yes, they are just as petulant and childish as he is. But when they need something from him, then they do take on the parent role and they demand stuff from him and they make him do stuff. But then at the same time, sometimes he's like, "Hold up, wait a minute, I'm the damn president. Fuck you."
Now look,
everybody, even
I like
thinks
that
of him
y'all
as
bring
a
this
puppet.
up. I like that y'all bring this up because look, Susan is new to the administration and she brings a lot of fresh eyes to what's going on the episodes. She said, huh? She said, "Do you think about us, the American public? Do you think about what? Do you think about us while you're having an affair in our house? You don't get to be like everyone else." That statement. How do you think Susan handled the news of Fitz's affair with Olivia and the statement of where she made him kind of just look at him on himself because he was ordering her around and treating her like a slave. He might as well have owned Susan because the way he was talking to her, look, that's the way he was talking to her. That's how I feel.
But I have to say that when she first realized, when she just came in there like a ball of thunder talking about, can you believe that they're saying all this stuff and blah 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 and all this stuff, and then he says, "I'm waiting for a living." She's like, oh.
That's about the
it hit her like it hit her
real.
It hit. I was like, oh, this is really happening. Okay, so yeah, he actually, the funny thing about it is I thought at this point, especially after the lawn chair episode with the whole thing over gun control and the way they had that come to Jesus moment, I thought that he had gathered some more respect for her, but I have to say that he was a little disrespectful last night, but she put him in his place and she did it in a tactful manner too. And basically it was like a skewing of the Sally Langston type of chastising, but not as over the head as Sally would have been. But she did make him take a hard look at himself, and ultimately, more so than Abby, I think it was Susan that caused him to make that call, to actually call Melly, to actually then also call Liv and leave that message for her. It was Susan who caused that catalyst for him.
I disagree with everything you just said.
Why?
Why did Cassandra Schultz send us a thing talking about what we called Fitz childish? Here is Katrina talking about these nuts, and it's a cat. A cat exposing itself.
But seriously, everyone had a talk with Fitz at that point, and no one got to him but Susan.
No, Abby
I don't think she got to him.
Abby got to him as well.
Yeah,
man.
but his last.
We just gonna disagree and move on because let me say one thing about Susan, okay? Y'all talking about fresh eyes. There's nothing fresh about what Susan said. Literally, when she came out with that, I had a Tyra Banks gif in my head, like, Susan,
we were rooting for you.
We were all rooting for you because I love Susan. That's like my platonic ship. Like I ship it so hard. Like Fitz and Susan, like when they work together. But Susan's not a fresh pair of eyes. Susan is the naive, idealistic pair of eyes who has not been through the trenches of shit yet, right? But Fitz needs that part. He needs a bit of that idealism. What Susan had to say with Fitz was nothing fresh. Literally, what was going through my mind after the Tyra Banks gift was, Susan, I like you, but sit your ass down with that tired ass season 1 Cyrus Bean ass speech, because that's basically what he said to Olivia in 107. Some men aren't meant to be happy, they're meant to be great, which was the same shit she was bringing back. Like, you don't get to be a person. America hired you to run the country, but you don't get to be a person, right? That's been the tension of this entire kind of series. And what she said was literally nothing new. Somebody has been saying that to Fitz for 5 seasons. So I was like, hey girl, you could keep it. Thank you. Goodbye.
Well, we could disagree, but I feel like the fresh pair of eyes is about the idealism, because she did not expect that. She did not feel like he was doing anything like that. She did bring a fresh perspective, because, and it's not a fresh perspective from the standpoint of it's never been said before. I'm talking about a fresh perspective as in, well, wow, I didn't expect that of you. I expected more of you than that. So she did bring that perspective. That's literally the definition of idealism. So I don't agree with that. I don't agree. I love
Okay,
the
well, we disagree.
yeah. We can agree to disagree. No
Yeah.
problem.
I'm gonna need for y'all to bring it together.
I love her opinion.
Bring it together.
Episode. That's just all.
Ever since I came on, is
We are not yelling at each other.
yes,
I
you
love
are.
that.
If you can see or feel the blood coming from my ears.
Oh yeah.
Come on.
Well, we got our kumbaya moments. We have our stuff. We just disagree on this part.
We're just having some disagreements.
Whatever.
Yeah, just a little. So how does leadership
I'll just get my cotton balls for later.
I'm gonna read y'all's comments in just a second, but I want to ask this question and get what you all think right before we go into the after dark. The question was, how does leadership come? Is it given to you? Be the adult. You'll become the child. You'll want power. You want the power. You don't ask children if they want their vegetables. You make them eat it. Be the adult. And then Abby tells Cyrus, "You're a terrible father."
Yeah, I know. That was funny.
Mm-hmm.
What you know?
We haven't even
That's
seen Ella.
funny. I know I was gonna say, like, if they had a cutaway to him like feeding the baby or something, that would have been like the most
I know. I would love
thing
to
ever.
see Ella.
Yeah, speaking of Ella, Ella and Michael, where are they?
Right.
Do they have their own
Oh.
Do they have their own spinoff somewhere?
I forgot Cyrus was married. Oh darn.
Yes.
He has a husband.
He's married and has a baby, yet we've seen neither of them yet. And he's been off work, so the least we could have seen was like them sitting around playing with Ella while he was on the checking out the computer, watching all the action going down or something. I don't know.
Well, Langston, you have given me something to investigate for Periscope. I will find out what happened to the actor that plays Michael and let you guys know on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
Here she
Maybe
here she come
maybe
interject
not
here
available
she come
for
interjecting real life again.
That's
Well,
her job.
That's her job.
I just want to let you know. So I will investigate and have
She's
an
like
answer.
she's like Velma from Scooby Doo.
Oh my goodness. She kind of looks like Velma. I never forget to her.
She has a backpack on, so it's just
Oh my God, Langston, you are a mess.
we the Scooby gang, the scary
We are. We might be. I don't know which one I am. Langston.
Miss
One
look
more.
all together now, Mr. Bean.
All right, Morgan says, I thought it was funny at first, but she exposed the biggest problem on the show, people deifying. Deifying. Yeah, because I was like, what is this word?
Because I just saw her tweet and I was like, yes, Morgan, yes, say it.
And Olivia, thank you, Morgan. And then we have Cassandra with all of her memes. She said she loves when we get heated on the podcast because peace was never an option. A mess. Morgan says that's not Olivia's fault. She's responding to what the Fitz did it again with not informing Abby. She said it's not Olivia's fault. Fitz should have informed him, but considering their little club now, she doesn't feel bad. And she says she doesn't think that Fitz was childish. Abby's job was to work it out. If he tells her to deflect, she should deflect, even if it's hard. She also says Fitz is a little disconnected from his staff. A little. It's like Korea in America. Fitz is a little disconnected from his staff, but I also think that they are unreasonable and forgetting their place. What place? When you
I
have no
think
direction because there's no leadership, what is the place? I don't
I
understand.
also think he's probably like a little gun shy after last season when the entire staff turned on him. You
Then
know.
Cassandra says it wasn't Olivia's responsibility per se, but she should have at the very least given Abby a heads up. I don't know what you're talking about, Cassandra. Let me see.
No, I'm done with Olivia giving people a heads up with shit about her life. Y'all fucking figure it
And so then in response to at the end when Huck and Quinn had their scene, Cassandra says she thinks Quinn just had a mirror moment where she had to self-reflect, which we all have to do sometimes before we
out.
point fingers. Absolutely, positively the truth. I totally agree. Um, then she gave a meme up with Rihanna and said, Jaha be like, I don't agree. Hashtag no fucks given. That is
is,
hilarious.
is it the picture with Rihanna all bloody?
No. What you trying to
Is
say?
it with her with her tongue giving the Jada Kiss tongue?
It's like her
With her,
it should be Jaha with blood all over his face talking about bitch better respect my opinion.
Oh wow! Really? Thanks for that. Kamara asks, "What do you guys think about the Susan said to Fitz and what Fitz wants for his life?"
Oh Lord, they having a party over there?
Oh no, she's you know where she at. She at that bread. We ain't giving
At the Panera Bread.
Now see, I said that bread. You done gave them a promo. What is wrong with you?
Hello, could work to our favor. Didn't you just send me a task? Hello, Panera. We talking to you.
You are absolutely right.
But I have a question. I have a question real quick. Did you guys discuss Mellie's speech to Fitz when she came in to ask him to tell him basically to apologize?
That was the beginning of the show, yeah.
I missed that too.
I love that. I love that. That was just...
Well, you can go all through it in the After Dark. That's where we're about to go.
We'll talk about that there.
And we're going on through. And if you want to join us in the After Dark, you can go to dramaqueenbooks.com/support and you can join us there. We're going there in a few seconds, right after I read these responses and we give our last thoughts and close out the show for today. Thank you all for joining us. Kamara Harrington says, I think Quinn was burying herself in her work just like Liv because she's still trying to figure out what to do about her issues with Huck and possibly Charlie. Then Lucinda says, let me scroll it back down. Lucinda says, see, she's his backup. Wait, let me start at the top. I see this is going bad for Abby because secrets always come out and it won't be just a work problem. It will be a personal problem if Liz and Fitz find out Abby handled things the way she did. I think Fitz was watching her. And then she says, see, she is his backup. That's her whole job. He gets the shots. He gets shot. She steps up and that's her boss. No matter what, he's out. No, he's doing it. Not her place to call him out. I think that you're talking more about the fact that she and Elizabeth North made a pact or that equality agreement. Lucinda, I think that's what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And Kamara says, but Fitz said how many different ways he can't be a partner to someone who doesn't understand what that really means. I guess you're talking about Mellie. And then she's saying, I don't like the idea that Abby even went to Cyrus. I think maybe she should have talked to Fitz. She tried that. That didn't work out. So I like the idea that she went to Cyrus because Cyrus is always bringing the crazy and I love him. Shouldn't Liv use her fixer skills to protect their relationship, i.e. the Republic? That's not her job. Liv should have had a conversation with Abby so she could have enough info to do her job, which is to protect the administration. Liv's job, she does not work for the White House. So it is not her job to talk to Abby about anything. That is not her responsibility. Okay, we're going to After Dark.
But she did create a firestorm that left Abby with nothing.
Yes.
You know?
We talked about that. We did, and I agree. But
I mean, regardless of whether she works for the White House, what she did affects the White House and affects Abby's job.
But she didn't do anything. She didn't do anything.
She took the fuck off. That's what the fuck she did.
Oh, we talked
She
about that.
left. She left, and she left without any instruction on what to do. And that's normally what Liv does. Normally, Liv has a plan. She has a backup plan, but Liv panicked and she left. And so then that left Abby to have to handle everything because Fitz didn't know what the hell to do. You know.
Thank you.
And
That's what I'm saying.
his entire time was I'm waiting for Liv. So he just didn't, Fitz didn't know what to do. Abby didn't know what to do, and she had to figure it out on her own. And because Liv left
Liv
went in that tunnel, and she was like, "Got to go."
Tamara says, I swear I thought Huck was going to kill Quinn when she kept yelling at him. I understand that she was scared and hurt because of what he's done. I think in some way she still loves him. She doesn't know how to fix him or herself. And I agree with you. I think she does love Huck. Not in a brother-sister way either, because once you get the thighs thing going, that's a different kind of love. And then Lucinda says, I think the problem isn't that he's a child. I think he's over being told what to do and handle. Well, he was waiting on Olivia.
Thank you, Lucinda. That's what I meant. Because of the way Cyrus and Mellie repeatedly tried to control not just his presidency, but his life, like everything about his life. Fitz is so done with that, and so he's overcompensating for what they did in the past.
Well, I can agree with that. I think then she says, but these people work for him. He has no trust in them.
Thank you.
Damn, Lizzie Bear don't want to work too hard. Well, we see that. Lizzie Bear ain't about this administration at all.
And Susan's job is to go where Fitz tells her to go. She's his vice president. And I know a lot of feelings partially arise with the way Fitz has been talking to his staff in this episode, because do you notice that Fitz is surrounded by women? Now, if all of those people were men, a bunch of y'all wouldn't have such hurt feelings about it. But because he's talking to these women in that way, it feels really uncomfortable. And
that's not true. Well,
I do think part of it is
not
true.
for me. Not for me.
I'll give that, Katrina.
Not for me. I think that because they're kind of like, all of them are scared of him in some kind of way. None of them are like really stepping up and being in that role. Cyrus wouldn't let him talk to him like that. And that's just where, and it's not even about him being a man, it's just being about him having the gumption to say what he had to say and to not be afraid of being fired. I think these people are job scared. And that's a lot of Americans in this world. They're job scared. They don't say things when they need to say it to the management and upper management just because they're scared of losing their jobs. And a lot of that, I think Abby is scared of losing her job, which is why she didn't step up before and say these things. But when somebody gives them permission to, like Abby basically got permission from Cyrus to have her own way of handling it and her own way of trying to make it work, then that's when she felt more empowered. You saw her have that moment of switching from good Abby to Glenda Goodwitch, and she was like, bitch, I don't fucking care now. I'm just tell y'all like they together. But so then she says Quinn should be Liv's baby sister. Quinn should be Liv's baby sister because their lives are similar. Liv doesn't show her enough love. No one does. It's not fair. She's alone. She is alone at OPA. She's alone at OPA. I feel sorry for Quinn a little bit in that respect. She does feel alone, and they're not. I just like badass Quinn, but Quinn is crazy enough. What's crazy to egg Huck? Oh, but Quinn is crazy to egg Huck on like she has been, but it goes way back because Huck or Liv basically created Quinn. I think she's mad he didn't go to her from the beginning to either apologize to her or go to her for help. Well, she had made it pretty damn clear she didn't want nothing to do with him.
Right, exactly.
And then the last response or question or whatever is that Fitz is making the decisions that he feels is right for him and Liv. He's not willing to give up that right to people who have other agendas. That's true. That are contrary to what he and Liv want. That happened too many times in the past, i.e. Mellie and Cyrus ass out. All right, Kamara, thank you. Thank y'all for joining us. We appreciate y'all being here and hanging in with all of what we had to say and what y'all had to chime in about. And we are going into the after dark so we could talk some more crap. And I have to give Katrina some more love because I love she. She know I love you. So I'll see y'all later. We'll see y'all later.